Free speech crackdown. The EU orders British press not to reveal when terrorists are Muslims. Meddling Brussels has said the British press should not report when terrorists are Muslims in a slew of demands to the government to crack down on the media. Of course, we all know this. This has been going on for ages now. Didn't need any decree from that unelected snake pit in Brussels and Frankfurt. It was already happening. We're having terrorist attacks almost weekly from Islamists let in to Europe, pushed into Europe to kill the native civilization by the tribe. A report from the European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance, ECRI, found there was an increase in hate speech and racist violence in the UK from 2009 to March 2016. And it would be at least double or 3 times that if they included black or Asian on white crime as hate crime, which they don't. Blaming the press, ECRI chairman Christian Adlund said it is no coincidence that racist violence is on the rise in the UK at the same time we see worrying examples of intolerance and hate speech in the newspapers, online, and even among politicians. Censor them. Censor them all. The report makes a whopping 23 recommendations to Theresa May's government for changes to criminal law, the freedom of the press, crime reporting, and equality law. So that basically just means lie. Lie. Don't tell them that all these things that we've pushed for so long, all this multiculturalism, all this mass immigration, has led to your countries becoming virtually second world. The poorest natives now can't afford to live, can't afford to feed themselves. They even though they have to depend on the state, even the big mummy state, cannot provide a safety net big enough for them anymore. So now they're also relying on the kindness of others. This media that pushed all of these things, it's now saying don't report the outcome. Don't show what an absolute and utter, complete failure it was. These liberal ideas that they can push because they live in gated communities, they live in high value areas where they don't have to deal with the people coming in. They don't have to see the consequences. They can just sit around making progressive decisions, and while they masturbate in that fashion, people are raped and murdered. And despite, and this is me reading again, and despite the report not analysing coverage from the historic Brexit vote, Mr. Alnerd saw fit to comment on the UK's decision to leave the EU. Or was it xenophobic and racist? Let me guess. In a sweeping statement, he said the Brexit referendum seems to have led to a further rise in anti-foreigner sentiment. No, shit. Maybe that's because the foreigners were trying to undermine our country and our democracy. I'd say that's a good reason to have anti-foreign sentiments, if there ever was one. Making it even more important that the British authorities take the steps outlined in our report as a matter of priority. Brainwash the population, is what they're saying. Change their minds. The report lays into the British press and urges the government, what more could they do? Nobody watches anymore because it's so outlandish. It's so foreign to people. It doesn't represent anything that anybody outside of perhaps the London area and maybe Manchester feel or associate with. The report lays into the British press and urges the government to give more rigorous training to reporters. Training reporters. The government training reporters. This is, of course, the EU. Again, isn't it hilarious? Ever since the EU Brexit vote, we voted to leave. All they do is they just wanted to leave because they're racist. They just wanted to leave because they're racist. Censor them, ban them, introduce this law, introduce this regulation, and it's like, this is exactly why we voted to leave. This is exactly why we voted to leave. Because the minds that come up with all sorts of ideas are unelectable, which is why they serve in the EU. Most of the people in the EU have at some point failed to win an election. The commissioners, all the bureaucrats, aka the robots, the soulless clones, the vessels. In the 83-page piece of shit, the Commission said ECRI considers that, in light of the fact that Muslims are increasingly under the spotlight as a result of recent ISIS-related terrorist attacks, Muslim-related terrorist attacks around the world. They're not all ISIS-related. Al-Qaeda, around the world, fueling prejudice against Muslims. Prejudice against Muslims? What about the people having their heads cut off? The children and women just left to grooming gangs who just exploit them as meat. Unhuman meat. What sort of backwards thinking is this? Fueling prejudice against Muslims shows a reckless disregard not only for the dignity of the great majority of Muslims in the United Kingdom, and they will be a great majority soon, but also for their safety. Their safety! It's unbelievable. Have you seen the crime statistics in the areas? It's like reading... The thing is, it's so cliche to make comparisons now about the media and Orwell or Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia, but it's worse. It's worse. I mean, no one even believes them, and they still do it. I mean, I guess some people do believe them because just all the mouth breathers. The wheels keep turning somehow. I mean, I hope this is like the very last stage of tyranny, where the emperor's naked and everybody knows, everybody sees it, but for some reason, you know, the Senate still gets together. For some reason, life still goes on. The morning Joe's on every morning, even though we know it's all just a huge facade. It's more fake. Is that the correct word? Is it more fake? Faker? More fake than the Matrix. It's like a fake world. We see them. Look at Hillary, man. I mean, that is just... It's a demon. It's so inverted and just wrong and anti... Everything she says is the opposite of what is. It's crazy. Anyway, in this context, it draws attention to a recent study by Teesside University suggesting that where the media stress the Muslim background of perpetrators of terrorist acts and devote significant coverage to it, the violent backlash against Muslims is likely to be greater than in cases where the perpetrator's motivation is downplayed or rejected in favour of an alternative explanation. They're saying lie. Okay? They're saying lie. This is why we've been getting all across Europe and in America lies. Oh, we think it's a Hispanic male. Anybody that saw that CCTV footage, the second I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. It's an Arab. He's gonna have ties, links to ISIS or something, or just be fanatic, as many Muslims just are. Even what you'd call moderates. And who was right? I was right. That's right. Yeah, they tried to say it was a no outrage over the media just being like, we think it's an Hispanic, we're looking for an Hispanic male. Like I said, the second I saw him, I was like, that's an Arab one. It was obvious. He looked Arab. He didn't look Mexican. Where was the outrage? Imagine if Donald Trump had said that. It's the Mexican. He looks like a Mexican guy. This is why we need the wall. Oh my God. When it had turned out it was an Arab, it would be over, man. It would be over. The entire thing would be over. That's what we're up against. Just the worst example of an Orwellian, political, industrial, and media elite who I don't know how far the rabbit hole goes, but it's getting to the point where it just seems otherworldly. It's just so strange. They're just so weird. And it's happening faster, and they're so desperate to just get Muslims here. And I know why. All you need to do is look at any Muslim nation. Even more so, the ones where they get some form of democratic say, an election on local officials, whatever. Just look at them. Look at what they vote for. And you'll understand why this New World Order would like them as their population. Who wouldn't want, a billion people with an IQ of 80 who are absolute and utter statists and socialists? So that's basically it. And we're seeing it happen.